It was the first week of July, the heart of summer, when the Parker family decided to escape to Lake Tahoe. Sarah and James had been planning the trip for months. It would be their first real vacation together in almost 4 years. Life had been a blur of work and responsibilities. James spent long days managing a construction firm, while Sarah, an elementary school teacher, often found herself buried in lesson plans and stacks of ungraded papers. Their 17-year-old son, Ethan, was quiet and thoughtful, the kind of boy who preferred sketching in his notebook to going out with friends. The Parkers had always been close, but lately, Sarah felt something shifting between her and her son. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was just different, more distant, more private. She kept telling herself it was normal teenage independence, but when he locked his door or gave one-word answers, her heart ached. She missed those nights when he'd curl up next to her on the couch, laughing at cartoons or telling her about his day. "This trip is exactly what we need," James had said while packing the SUV. "No phones, no work, no distractions, just us." Sarah smiled, watching Ethan toss his backpack into the trunk. "You sure you're okay being away for a week?" she asked. He shrugged, eyes drifting toward the street. "Yeah, sure. It'll be good." The drive from Sacramento to Tahoe was stunning. Endless pine forests, curving mountain roads, and golden sunlight filtering through the trees. Sarah played old family road trip songs, and for the first time in what felt like ages, Ethan laughed. That sound, his laughter, filled the car like sunlight. She caught James smiling softly in the rearview mirror. When they arrived at their rented cabin near the lake, nostalgia washed over Sarah. The wooden walls, the creaky floors, and the scent of pine reminded her of her own childhood summers, the ones spent with her parents by the lake. She had always dreamed of giving her son those same kinds of memories. The first few days were perfect. They hiked forest trails, cooked dinner together, and stayed up late watching movies. Every evening, Ethan would sit by the fireplace, sketching quietly in his notebook. Whenever Sarah peeked over, he'd quickly close it, smiling shyly. "It's not finished yet," he'd say. One night, while Sarah sat on the deck watching moonlight ripple across the lake, Ethan joined her. "Mom?" he said softly, sitting down beside her. "Can I ask you something?" She turned, a little surprised. "Of course," he hesitated. "Do you think Dad's proud of me?" The question hit her like a weight. "Ethan, of course he is," she said gently. "Why would you even ask that?" He looked down, voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know. He's always so busy, talking about work, about other people. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing anything special. I'm not into sports like his friends' kids." Sarah reached over and took his hand. "Honey, your dad loves you more than anything. You don't need to be anyone else to make him proud. You already make us proud every single day." Ethan smiled faintly, but something flickered in his eyes. Something unspoken. Before she could ask, he stood up. "Thanks, Mom. I just wanted to know." The next morning, Ethan was up early. By the time Sarah and James came downstairs, he was gone. "Probably walking by the lake," James said as he poured his coffee. "He's been doing that a lot lately." Hours passed and Sarah's worry started to grow. Just as she was about to head out to look for him, Ethan came back, shoes muddy, but eyes bright. "Sorry, Mom," he said. "I had to get something ready." "For what?" she asked, but he only smiled. "You'll see tonight." That evening, as the sun slipped behind the mountains, Ethan led them down to the dock. Lanterns lined the wooden path, glowing softly against the twilight. At the end stood a small easel, covered with a cloth. Sarah blinked, confused. "Ethan, what is all this?" He looked nervous but excited. "Just something I've been working on." Taking a deep breath, he lifted the cloth. Beneath it was a large, breathtaking painting. The three of them sitting by the lake, laughing together, their reflections rippling across the water. The details were perfect. Her hair caught by the wind, James's hand resting on her shoulder, Ethan's own smile shining back at them. Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my gosh," she whispered. "Ethan, this is beautiful." James stared, his calm expression breaking into awe. "You painted this? All by yourself?" Ethan nodded, cheeks red. I've been working on it for months. I wanted to surprise you both on this trip. I call it home again. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. Why that name?